Hi there, this is Datila with Rangers of Wrestling, the Night's Wrestling Time post show. And for tonight, I will be reviewing Monday Night Raw. Alright, so Monday Night Raw kicked off with the MizTV that featured Paul Heyman. So basically, Miz used this opportunity to explain to everybody how Money in the Bank works, as if we need an explanation. We know how Money in the Bank works. We don't need this explanation, so that was completely pointless. Miz talks about himself and how Money in the Bank changed his career. And Heyman says that people who cash in on Roman will basically fail. He says that he wants to add a stipulation to Riddle's match. And Riddle comes out. He says this segment was no needed for a MizTV. Paul Heyman could have carried the segment on his own. Exactly. Heyman could have carried this on his own. We really didn't need this to be a MizTV segment. So, basically, the stipulation is that if Riddle loses to Reigns, which he will, he can never challenge for the Undisputed Universal title for as long as Roman is champion. And we all know Riddle's losing, so not much of a stipulation, if you ask me. So, like, the Usos come out and interrupt, and so the Street Profits. And I'm thinking to myself, this is probably going to be it, leading to a 6-man tag match. Player, holla. But it doesn't. Instead, it leads into Montez Ford versus Jimmy Uso, which wasn't a bad match. It wasn't. But this is falling into the same trap that the Usos versus RK Bro did. You're going to have every combo in the book. You're going to have Montez Ford versus Jimmy Uso. You're going to have Montez Ford versus Jey Uso. You're going to have Dawkins versus Jimmy. Dawkins versus Uso for Jey. You're going to have a random 6-man tag match in there. You're going to have every possible combination in the book, just like you did with RK Bro. And honestly, we really don't need to see that. We've seen this match so many times, but still a good match. Yes, so many times we've seen this match. Again, really don't need to keep seeing it. Then we get a Seth Rollins interview. He's basically asked why he attacked Cody Rhodes. He starts laughing, and then AJ Styles attacks him and says this is for Cody. So when did AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes become friends? Last I recall, he was feuding with Judgment Day, and so did they just randomly drop that? It just didn't make sense to me. I was left scratching my head because, why is AJ Styles attacking Seth for Cody? They never even interacted with one another. So, head scratcher. Okay, so then we're supposed to have, let me see. I thought it was a nice touch on Styles to lay out Rollins heading into match. It was a nice touch. It was, honestly. It was a nice touch to have him laid out before their match. So then we have a 24/7 championship match. It's Dana Brooke versus Becky Lynch. The same match we got last week, by the way, in case you're keeping track. And so Becky Lynch attacks Dana Brooke before the start of the match. She's beating her up. And she says that disrespect that she's been shown week after week. And she said the last time she was in Money in the Bank, she was robbed, she was cheated, and Asuka came out. Becky enters the ring. Asuka attacks Becky, and then Alexa Bliss comes out because she's getting ready for her match. So then later on in that, we find out that next week is going to be Asuka versus Becky Lynch in a qualifying match for the Women's Money in the Bank. Speaking of the Women's Money in the Bank, the following match, Nikki, ASH, and Doudrop versus Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan. Whoever wins qualifies for Money in the Bank. Why am I not surprised Alexa Bliss is teaming with Liv Morgan now? Why? Why am I not surprised? What a waste of time that was. I was hoping Becky takes that title and throws it in the garbage. Right? Why am I not surprised? Seriously. This match was okay, but it just didn't do it for me. Of course, Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss win. So what if WWE decides to bring back the women's tag titles? Are they next in line for the tag titles? Like, it just total waste of time. And again, like they randomly split up AJ Styles, Liv Morgan, and Finn Balor. Like, we literally only got one 6-person tag match. We're not even getting a follow up. So it's just crazy to me, honestly. And speaking of Money in the Bank, I'm still not gonna go to Money in the Bank. I just feel like it's just not worth the trip out there. Like, I will literally like arrive and then come back, and it's just, I'm just gonna watch Money in the Bank at home with the rest of you guys. Then we get Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel, which I didn't really mind because I like Ezekiel. He beats Kevin Owens by countout because Kevin Owens is on the announce table yelling at commentary for calling Ezekiel, and he says that you need to call him Elias. Speaking of Elias, Ezekiel says that he isn't done with KO and that Elias is coming to Raw next week and we're going to have a concert. MVP is looking, and Money in the Bank is looking, man, good, you're not going. Yeah, I'll be watching at home with the rest of you people, so I'm very intrigued and curious to see how they're going to pull this off with Elias and Ezekiel. I mean, are they going to just are they going to have Ezekiel go out there with like a fake beard? Are they going to do like a backstage segment? Are they going to have Ezekiel like put on a wig and pretend to be Elias? How are they going to do this is what I want to know. Like, I'm very curious. This is something that I've been wanting to see since the character of Ezekiel debuted, and I'm very, very curious to see how they do it. I actually cannot wait for that. All right, and we had MVP versus Cedric Alexander. Boring match. I guess you can call it for what it was. Squash match. Almost distracts Cedric Alexander, and MVP ends up winning. Big deal. I'm so tired of this feud. It needs to end. How much can WWE do with this? Ezekiel will be in disguise. Or I've seen people joke it's going to be Damien Sandow. Damien Sandow kind of does bear some resemblance to Elias, so I can see that. Okay, so then after the horrid MVP versus Cedric Alexander match, we had AJ Styles versus in the Seth Rollins segment. AJ Styles basically says that the Money in the Bank contract has eluded him his whole career. He wants to win Money in the Bank, but he wants to do this for Cody. Seth Rollins also goes on to say he's doing this for Cody. So then this leads into AJ Styles versus Seth freaking Rollins Money in the Bank qualifying match. This was actually a great match. My favorite match of the night, if you ask me. My only favorite match of the night. I'm not surprised Seth Rollins won. I don't know what the original plan was, but I think that with Seth Rollins being in this match, I think that opens the door for like when Cody comes back to continue his feud with Seth Rollins, because you can have Seth Rollins win Money in the Bank, and if Cody Rhodes shows up at the Royal Rumble, have him win the Royal Rumble, but then you'd have to have Seth Rollins dethrone Roman Reigns so that Cody Rhodes can challenge for the title at WrestleMania. But Rollins and Styles was the only best match of the night. Yeah, it definitely was the only match of the night. But like I said, so I feel like that's what they're going for. They're setting up Styles versus Cody for when Cody Rhodes comes back. And the best way to do that is have Seth Rollins win Money in the Bank, have him dethrone Roman, and then have Cody Rhodes take the title from Seth at WrestleMania. But knowing WWE, they probably won't do that. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Then we get Riddle versus Ciampa with Miz on commentary. I swear, is there like something with Ciampa and the Miz? Like, Ciampa seems to be around wherever the Miz is. And like, Ciampa lost this match. I feel sorry for him because he's really not doing much. He's just kind of there. And like, he took out Mustafa Ali for the Miz, and now he's like facing Riddle. It's like, I'm kind of curious to see, like, is there an alliance here? Like, what's going on? Ciampa's still getting the jobber entrance. Everybody knows we need the Seth Cody feud to continue. He has to redeem all those losses Sunday. Yeah, that's true. He does. Okay, So, I didn't really care for Riddle versus Ciampa. It's obvious Riddle was going to win. He needs momentum going in to his match on Friday Night SmackDown, but, I really don't care. I didn't really care for any of this stuff that happened on Raw besides AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens versus Ezekiel. Then we get a Bianca Belair segment. She says that she and Rhea Ripley have been the forefront of a new generation of women. She says that they did everything together and they had mutual respect, but she isn't scared of Rhea. She says that ever since Rhea joined Judgment Day, she talks with action. Then Judgment Day appears on the screen, and Rhea says that ever since she joined Judgment Day, she talks with action. Damian Priest goes on to say that Edge had the right idea, but he contradicted himself a lot. And then Rhea says that maybe Bianca stop caring about what people think. She would gradually win. And Rhea says she's intimidating, not because she says she's intimidating, but she's just genuinely intimidated. So I get what Rhea was saying here. Let me see. I didn't care about anything on Raw, and also knowing Little Caesars commercial we've seen throughout the 3 hours. What you got against Little Caesars? Little Caesars isn't that bad. It's not my favorite pizza place, but it's up there. So the segment, I get what Rhea was trying to say. She was trying to say Bianca Belair should speak with actions and not words. All right. So then we get an Austin Theory segment, who basically says that in 20 years, they're going to be doing the 20 years of him, and it's going to make John Cena, the 20 years of John Cena celebration, look like nothing. He said that he's the best investment that Mr. McMahon ever made. And I have to say, it's pretty obvious. They're setting up Theory versus John Cena. It really is. I don't know if that's going to happen at Money in the Bank or if it's going to happen at SummerSlam, but that's the direction they're going for. I like Little Caesars, but it was too much of the commercial with the guy in the braces and the girl sitting at the campfire. Yeah, it definitely was. Then we got poor Mustafa Ali versus Chad Gable. The match wasn't bad. I'm pretty sure if you let Mustafa Ali go and Chad Gable go, they can put on a banger of a match. One that could possibly rival AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins, or an even better match. And my favorite spot in this match was when Mustafa Ali marked Gable when he did the whole shh thing, which I thought was hilarious. But Chad Gable won, and Mustafa Ali has been losing ever since he came back. He won his big return match, and then he's just been losing every single week. I mean, first he got fed to Veer Mahaan. He lost in his hometown. It was basically put in squash matches. Now he lost to Chad Gable. I can't think of any other way they can humiliate or embarrass Mustafa Ali. I honestly can't. And I still wonder what the hell they said to him to get him to come back and why he agreed to come back. I guess he probably just didn't want to sit at home for 2 years collecting money. So then we had Rey Mysterio versus Veer Mahaan. Veer was dominating this match. Veer Mahaan won by submission. I'm not surprised. I mean, let me see. They must be paying Mustafa Ali some big bucks to be a jobber. Yeah, probably are. But I'm not surprised. I really have nothing more to say about Rey Mysterio versus Veer Mahaan. I don't understand why he's feuding with the Mysterios. I don't understand why the Mysterios are not in the tag team title picture. I'm just so I don't know. And the main event. Oh, dear God. It was Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory in a pose down. This belongs in the middle of the show. You know what you could have had as the closing segment of Raw? AJ Styles versus Seth freaking Rollins. That could have been your main event. That was one hell of a match. That was your main event. You could have replaced the spot where AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins was with the pose down. And it might have ended the show on a much stronger note than how it ended. So basically, like, Bobby Lashley wins this pose down. Of course, that doesn't sit well with Austin Theory. So he attacks him, throws, I think, what's baby oil on his eye, and then takes a selfie as Bobby Lashley's walking away. I have respect for Veer after I read an article that he got in touch with the boy who was having a 6 shoulder and his mom. Yeah, I saw that too. I saw that. Veer is not a bad person. He's not a bad person, and it's not his booking that's my problem. It's just I don't understand why they're having him face the Mysterios. Like, I thought they were doing the whole jobber of the week for a couple weeks, and then they stopped it out of nowhere. So I'm just a little confused by his booking. But it's not that he's a terrible wrestler or anything. It's just his booking. And that's pretty much the end to Monday Night Raw. And I thought last week's show was terrible. This takes the cake. It really does. It tops it for being a horrible. Back in 1989, they already did a super pose down between Rick Rude and the Ultimate Warrior during the Royal Rumble pay-per-view. So them doing one to main event is not a surprising. Raw was 1 out of 10, 5 out of 10 over 1 out of 10. Okay, so to me, this is the second time. It's 2 weeks in a row that Bobby Lashley and Austin Theory main event closed Raw. In my opinion, this is more about Theory than it is about Lashley. I think they're trying to test the waters with Theory to put him in the main event, because obviously when John Cena comes back, whether Cena opens or closes the show, and I think he's going to close, they're going to send Austin Theory out there. And I think they're just testing the waters with him to see how he does in the main event scene. Personally, to me, I don't like it because obviously it's being forced and shoved down our throats. And I feel sorry for Lashley because he gets stuck with Theory. It's not his fault. It's not Theory's fault. Like, these segments can work if booked properly, but because they're so forced and so dead set on making it all about Theory, it just comes off as being terrible and forced, and I don't like that. But what do you guys think? Oh, is anybody going to Money in the Bank? Or are we all just watching it from home, by the way? But yeah, so this tonight's show was just meh. Ani liked AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins. Have Little Caesars advertise. I wish. But I have to give tonight's show a 1 out of 10. I've never given Raw a 1 out of 10. I always try to find something I like and always try to be unbiased and stay as neutral as possible. But like, tonight's show was definitely missing. Jeff Hardy's in trouble. Yes, I know he's in trouble again. It was reported today that Jeff Hardy did get arrested in Florida, and apparently he got charged with a DUI. It's the third time in 10 years, and it's crazy. And I hope he gets the help that he needs. And I don't know what's gonna happen on Dynamite. I really don't. I just have to wait and see and turn out. But I hope Jeff Hardy finds help and that he gets help. But yeah. So honestly, it's the worst Raw I've ever seen. And with that being said, you guys, this concludes the review. Thank you guys all so much for watching and for your continuous support. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell so you get notified whenever I go live or release a new video. And I'll see you guys on Wednesday after Dynamite. Bye.